So one of the most productive, joyful, relaxing things I've done while we've been quarantined is make this beautiful chunky knit blanket. And it literally costs between 20 and 30 bucks depending on where you get your yarn. I've seen it at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, Walmart. And so I'm gonna make another blanket today out of similar yarn. This is actually 10.5 ounces worth of yarn from Michael's, where this blanket yesterday I got was only 8 ounces of yarn per roll. So that's where pricing can differ, or the amount of rolls you need. I'm gonna shoot for 5 10.5 ounce rolls for this next blanket. This is using 5 8-ounce rolls, and it's a pretty good size. It's so soft and it's really cozy. I do want to make on this next blanket just a little bit tighter knot so that my toes don't poke through the top. So yeah, let's get to it. Alrighty, step 1 is to grab your first ball of yarn and get some slack out just so we have some to work with as we get started. Put that over to the side. We're gonna take the end and take about a foot worth to leave as the tail end out. And in order to create our first slip knot, we need to just make a U shape like so. Got the tail end there. And we're gonna take the tail end and cross it over the top, creating a loop. So one more time, we've got our loop. Grab here and cross it over the top. We're gonna stick our fingers through the middle and grab the tail and pull up, creating a loop. We're gonna tighten that out. So we have our first slip knot. I'm gonna do mine sort of tight, so you can adjust obviously how big your slip knot is, but mine is going to be a little bit tighter on this blanket. And my cat is now wanting to play with the yarn. So if you have a cat, I'm sure you understand the struggle. So to make our chain, our first chain, you're gonna put a couple fingers or your whole entire hand, depending on how big you want your loops to be, through the center. And we're gonna take the excess yarn, wrap it around, and pull through. One more time. Fingers go in the middle, wrap around, and pull that through. It'll look weird at first, but you'll kind of start seeing the chain begin. So one thing to note here is how long you want your blanket. I see the average blanket chain being about 20 chains long. I'm going to make this one 25 chains long because I want it to be more for 2 people. So just a little bit bigger than the last one. So I can kind of count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 so far. So one more time. You put your fingers in the middle, and really what you're doing is pulling the excess through that and creating the next loop. So you're just pulling the excess through the center to create the next loop. And then if your loop's too big, you just pull it back to adjust how big you want the size to be. And the goal really is to get these to be as equal to each other as possible in size. So I'm just gonna keep going here. So I'm at the end of the chain and I want to show you what to do next, because this is where I started freaking out because I couldn't find a tutorial video that showed me what to do next properly. So I'm going to show you one more time making that last loop. I'm going to pull it through and leave this end alone. So there's my last loop, chillin'. I'm going to skip over the loop that it's in and go to the next one and make a little hole. Grab the fabric and pull it from the back to the front, creating that next loop. Reaching through and pulling, making that next loop, So wherever there's a hole, I'm just pulling the fabric from the back to the front to create that next loop. It's really easy to miss sometimes a hole, and then you'll notice it like 5 rows in and you're just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So really just take your time and focus on this as mindfully as you can so that you don't end up having to redo a bunch of rows. Right there, look, I missed one. So I'm just gonna pull it out because you guys should definitely see it's possible to make a mistake. And I'm gonna pull it through that one and just keep going. So we're coming to the end, and I know you can't see the whole chain, but here's just a glimpse. What I want to show you here is another non-complicated step that has been hard to understand on videos, so I hope this makes sense. So make sure you go all the way to the end. See, I've got one more I can loop through. There's the tail. And what I'm going to do is make this last loop a little bit bigger and just leave it out to the side. Like so. And then I'm gonna grab the loop next to the last loop and take the fabric through the back to the front to create the next loop. I'm gonna grab the one next to it, back to front, creating the next loop, back to front, grab that loop, pull through, next loop, pull through, coming to the end of the third row, I'm going to finish up that last loop there, well, the second to last loop, because we still have this one we left out on the end. So what you're going to do is grab the fabric and loop it through that loop, creating another loop, like so, and then take the fabric and start looping going the other way, from back to front. Coming to the end here, I'm gonna complete that second to last loop. And remember, this is the end loop we left out. There's the tail. I'm gonna get some more slack. I'm gonna take the fabric and loop it through that last loop, creating another loop I'm leaving out to the side. And then take the fabric and start from back to front, looping through the last loop you just made. Okay, coming again to this end, I will complete that second to last loop, take the fabric, loop it through that end loop, creating another end loop I'm leaving off to the side, and then take the fabric back to the second to last loop and back to front, make your next loop. You can kind of see the pattern coming together, or the rows that you're kind of creating, so it really helps to eye those, and that way you can keep track of your loops to make sure you're not missing one. Okay, approaching this end, I'm at my second to last loop. I'm going to take the fabric through, pulling that loop. Here's my end loop, so I'm going to take this fabric, loop it from the back to the front, creating the next loop, leaving it out to the side, grabbing the fabric, going to that second to last loop, and starting my next row. All right, so the next step is to integrate the next yarn ball. You can see we're at the end of this first one, and it's pretty easy. Don't be intimidated by it. All we're gonna do is take our new yarn ball, this is the second one, and grab the end of the new yarn ball and the end of the old yarn ball. I'm going to finish this off. It's a little bit too big of a tail. Like that. So it's probably about a foot worth on the old yarn ball. And I'm going to tie them in a knot. So like so. Now I have a nice knot. Make sure it's tight. And of course, the fabric you're working with can change how difficult it is to make a knot. I'm just gonna take scissors and cut off these ends so that they're not too noticeable. And it's really easy to tuck this fabric knot away within the fabric. As you can see, it's now part of the new yarn. If it comes through like that, you can't really even tell, and you won't be able to with the next line. So yeah, it's pretty easy. You just keep going.
I think it's the way life changes when in love, yeah. I surround my soul with the positivity. That's why I don't worry about the things that I don't see, yeah. These days I don't worry about much. I think we should have some more fun. I still dream.
Alrighty, here we are. I've got all 6 yarn balls used up. I'll show you the full blanket in a second here. I want to show you how to end the blanket. So we have about this much yarn left. It's a little bit more than I think I'll need, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'm gonna come over here. So we're gonna pretend like we just finished this row, finishing up these last loops here. You're gonna loop this through that end piece, like so, like we've been doing. But this time you're going to take your hand and go through. I don't want my hole to be too big, so I'm gonna make sure that it's mostly my fingertips. And you're going to take the second to last loop and put that on your hand. You're gonna take the yarn and pull it through both of those pieces to create another loop. Then you're gonna take the loop that's third to last, put it on your hand, grab that end piece and pull it through to make another loop. And it'll take the fourth to the last loop, wrap them on your fingers and pull the yarn through to make another loop. And you'll just continue that. So you can see it's starting to make this nice ending braid that is kind of resembling, obviously, the other side of the blanket that we started on. So as we get to the end here, you can see I really don't have a lot of slack left. So thank goodness I stopped when I did. I'm going to pull this through and then come through this loop and pull it up. And you can see stitching it back into the fabric, I'm gonna kind of put it on the other side. You really can get pretty, creative with how you hide the ends. I've seen a few different ways, but kind of just tuck it really well there, and you can even see it's just pretty flat looking. But yeah, this turned out really beautifully. I can't wait to show you guys. Love how this blanket turned out. It's super cozy and it's just big enough for 2 people. So there is the looser knit version and the tighter knit version I just made side by side. You can see they're pretty similar, but it's definitely kind of a nice chunky look if you do them loose, and more of a warm knitted look if you do them tighter. What I love about this blanket is just how cozy and soft it is. My toes don't come through the holes. And it's just a bit warmer because the knits are closer together.